With me is Andy Kimbrell, and we just finished hearing his testimony as far as the what it is that needs to be labeled as far as GMO foods, genetically modified organisms. Andy, please give us an analogy on if you had E. coli in certain foods, you wouldn't necessarily have to label that in order to take it out, and there's a lot of uncertainty around GMO. Please explain this a little further.
Yeah, I think there's a fundamental mistake about labeling. We're saying, well, gee, if we can prove that genetically engineered foods are going to give you cancer or like E. coli going to make you very sick, then we should label them. That's not why we label foods in this country. If you look at the packaging on your food, you'll see all these ingredients. They're not there because people have found that they're carcinogenic or they're going to make you sick. They're there because they found them safe, but they think you have the right to know what's in your food. In genetically engineered foods, we have novel bacteria, novel genetic structures, novel viral DNA, novel antibiotic marker systems, all in every cell of that DNA food. We can't tell that. If you look at one tomato that's non-GMO and another GMO, you can't tell the difference. We have the right to know that there's this amazing difference, that there's all these novel elements in one and not in the other. So it's really a right to know issue. If we should find out that they're unsafe, and we're beginning to see some really concerning questions about their safety, we shouldn't label them. We should take them off the shelves. We don't label dangerous, unsafe foods. We take them off the shelves. We label foods because there's something in there that we wouldn't normally see that we have the right to know.
Now, as far as labeling, you also brought up a key point when you were asked to testify in front of the hearing today, how the burden should not be on a grower that chooses to do something conventionally. Isn't that correct?
Yes, I mean, people are saying, well, why don't people who are not using GMOs label their products as non-GMO? And my view on that is, why put the burden on the millions of farmers who are growing all sorts of crops that are not GMO, saying you have to label your crops as GMO even though you haven't changed anything? And for those few who are now growing GMO crops, saying you don't have to label at all. When you put a new product on the marketplace and a new technology in the marketplace, clearly it's your duty to label that you've put that new product on the marketplace. It shouldn't be the burden of everyone else who's not using it to say they're not using it. That makes no public policy sense at all.
Now, a large company like Monsanto, they're kind of protesting this, that they shouldn't feel obligated to put GMO labeling on their products. Why would you think they would not want that done?
One of the dirty little secrets of Monsanto and the biotechnology industry is they've been working on this for 30 years. 30 years. Billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in research and in private investment. And they haven't come up with one thing that helps the consumer. Not lower cost, better taste, less fat, less calories, nothing. 30 years. All they offer is risk. So they know that if these foods are labeled, a sensible consumer is going to say, here's two products the same. One's non-GMO, one's GMO. They're the same cost, except one offers me only risk, no benefits. Why would you pick that labeled product? They are frightened that labeling will show the fact that they have failed to put in a single trait that benefits any consumer in this country. No one gets up in the morning saying, boy, I want to buy a genetically engineered food. Nobody does it. They know that. That's why they're afraid of labeling. They know that it will hurt them in the marketplace, not because people are scared, but rather that people are sensible, saying, why would I buy a product that offers me only risk, no benefits, and it's the same price as a product that doesn't offer me those risks?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it true that the FDA is somewhat standing on the sidelines and expecting the companies such as Monsanto to do its own testing, sort of policing itself? Do you feel that that's a little bit out of whack, so to speak?
Well, sadly now, since 1992, almost 20 years, the FDA has maintained this position, and it's only a policy position. It's not written in the law, but their position is, hey, we'll let the companies voluntarily tell us if they think there's something wrong. It's kind of a let's go to lunch, kind of regulatory agency. You don't have to tell us unless you want to. If you think there's something wrong with your product or unsafe, you tell us. Well, how many companies, especially like Monsanto, are ever going to tell the government they think there's something wrong with their product? So we have no mandatory testing. We have no mandatory labeling. FDA stood on the side, and meanwhile, the American public is basically a guinea pig testing the safety of these foods, and an unknowing guinea pig. We're eating in the dark because of this lack of federal action. I do think that if states like New York, we've already seen in Connecticut and Maine, pass these kinds of labeling laws, inevitably the feds will pick it up, FDA will pick it up, and we will see federal labeling. But I think it's going to take the push of a state legislative action like this, New York state labeling, other states, to push the federal agencies to finally give us what we want, which is the right to know about the foods we're eating.
Well, Andy, thank you for coming forward and participating in this hearing in order to get the ball rolling in the right direction for labeling GMOs.
glad to have testified and glad to do this interview. Thank you, and we'll keep the fight going.
Okay, this is George Jr. from TeleziniTV.